Okay, we are back at PEZENAS. We are going to be painting this street scene. I just thought it was beautiful. The light falling through, hitting the building on the right side. I am working on a MDF oil primed panel. Okay, that's it. And I'm just drawing these things basically freehand. Uh, as you can see, I'm going to be making some mistakes in the drawing, but I'm going to alter them and fix them later on. And you'll see. So here, I wanted to show you guys, just put a little bit of oil on the canvases before you start. This will actually help. If you make a mistake, you can easily erase it now that there's a little bit of like oil, okay, a little something to help erase the paint. You can also use turpentine too on a piece of paper towel. All right, so I'm just basically trying to get the general shapes. I am not using a grid system on this. However, you guys can use that. I believe there's some apps out there. I think I alluded to about this too on the last watercolor video. I'm going to see if I can research some of these apps. I don't use them necessarily. They are good to have, but we'll definitely research that. I'll have some information on that. Maybe even make some old-fashioned ones with. We used to use acetate or acrylic, clear acrylic, and just a marker, and that was it. So you only need about 4 lines to do a grid, actually. So here we are. We're going to continue to make the line just as simple as possible. I'm just trying to get some of the direction, the door proportions. This is just me looking at the photo. If I was actually there, yeah, I would have this on my easel and I would be drawing this from life just the same way I'm doing it here. Okay, so everything I'm doing here is exactly the way I'd be painting if I was painting outside, minus the flies and mosquitoes. All right, so we basically put in the background. That color is a cerulean blue with titanium white. The picture looks like it has a little bit more ultramarine blue, and I'm not really going to try to go for the photo colors here because they do have a tendency to get to change and shift. So I'm not really focused all that much on the coloring necessarily. I'm really more in tune to the values of things. So what's kind of cool is that this is a vertical composition, so we are able to keep that photograph on the right side at all times. So you can always, refer to it. I do make some changes and alterations. Sometimes when you're seeing things from life, they look good. We're in a different place. This is it's a beautiful little town. The buildings are charming, but there are sometimes some of the aesthetics might not be exactly what we want. So you're gonna see that I'm gonna be changing some of the window sizes and things like that later on. All right, so I match the color of that building all the way up on the top where the blue windows are. And I got close to the color I needed. Now, the as far as this color is concerned, it's something I'm approximating the color. They're not exactly, but that was like a cerulean, and I think I had some. I forgot the name of the blue. I think it was a royal blue or something like that, or it had a little bit of Prussian or phthalo blue, which is very, very blue. They're going to change. You'll see that those windows are going to morph into another color and value. All right, so basically this color right here, I'm just trying to mass in the darkest darks in the foliage. So we have like that big tree, whatever that is, that's growing on the side of the building. Just trying to get some of those shadows in there. As you can see, I want to try to mass in as much as possible, especially when we start a painting, because you almost want to think about the patterns of what we're seeing here, and the and all the shapes. So don't think about line, don't think about um, the detail, especially in the beginning of a painting. Think of the masses first, and try to get the masses to be as close in value as you possibly can get. Now, I'm working direct. There is no underpainting. We don't have time for an underpainting. When we're outside, we want to just get in and paint, and we want to paint thick. That's why I kind of prefer these oil primed panels, and I'm going to have plenty of these with me on the trip. So don't you guys worry. If you want to experiment with these, fine. We'll have plenty to go around. In fact, I'm going to be making some just before I leave. So again, more of that blue on the door. I think the blue that I have and the blue that's in the photograph, it's two different kind of blues. So don't go by the color so much here. The colors do have a tendency to change. The little inset picture, everything looks, all the blues look like they have more ultramarine. However, in the photograph originally, it looks more like a cerulean or cobalt blue. All right, so I'm massing in where the lights are on the building now to the right. What I love about that picture is that little turret there. It's very different, very French. I haven't seen that. That looks like something you'd see Esmeralda popping out of, right? Or Quasimodo. So now we're gonna just jump in and put a little bit of the darks around that turret there. Okay, the window. We want to try to allude to the scalloping on the, basically those are tiles, more than likely terracotta tiles. And again, just more shadow, big shadow shapes. That's what I want to get. And here we go. So we have basically, as far as the colors are concerned, yeah, I was actually putting in some of the cerulean blue into that shadow. Chances are the shadows would have been burnt umber, ultramarine blue, and probably the addition of cerulean blue just to get those shadow colors a little bit cooler, okay? Usually when we're outside, our shadows, our light source is warm from the sun if it's a sunny day, and the shadows conversely are cooler. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind as we're painting, right? We want to push those colors up as well in the shadows. But again, first and foremost, make sure your values are coincide with what you're seeing. Now, you might have to do a lot of squinting. That's a good way to ascertain a good value judgment, to see where the values are by, instead of looking bright-eyed where we take in a lot of information, just squint and you'll be able to see the big shapes. You'll be able to see the values truer, okay, without all that little extraneous detail. We'll save that for the end, but even at that point, we're not going to be doing too much detail on these paintings. We're just trying to get, just like in the watercolor video, if you guys watch that one, it's getting the impression down, okay? So you'll see like similarities in style, because when we're painting, we got to paint quick. As I mentioned in the other videos, you're only going to have an hour to paint something like this, maybe an hour and a half, maybe a little longer if it's an overcast day, because you don't really see the shadows shifting as much on those types of overcast days. Here I'm massing in now some more of those the foliage, and I'm overlapping the building. I'm trying to replicate what I see in the photograph. I see that I do have to go up. That window is probably going to be covered a little bit more. There we go. And it doesn't have to be exact. You could, if you don't want your branches to go in a certain direction, you want to change them. You have the prerogative to do that. It doesn't have to look exactly like what you're seeing. Just try to get the values in as best you can. Now here I'm just implying, just like in the watercolors, it was just implying some brickwork there. That little turret support has has some warmth to it. What's happening there is that it's the light is bouncing back, that's on the wall and back into that cone, that that cone shape in there. Now, you probably saw that I took a paper towel and I lightened up that little building. Well, sometimes you have to do something like that to get the actual value. Um, if it doesn't work out where you're painting the value in, or maybe you just have a little too much other color on your brush, and you just can't get a clean light value, take it off. If that's because it's still stained now, there's still something there. And I do believe I go back over there and I add a little bit more color to that. Here I'm opening up the shadow by putting a little bit more blue in there, also putting blue in the shadow of the window. To some extent, the window that's in the turret stays pretty dark. That doesn't really get any coolness in there because there's nothing reflecting into it. It's just, I'm assuming it's just like an empty space in there. Yeah, so here, if you look at the inset photograph, there's a little sidewalk there, very small. There's some plants. The tree, which I believe is the trunk, which is supporting this whole big mass of color in there. So that's basically what we're dealing with. Now, I don't know what happened to my color, but we got a little funky there. So here is the picture. Now, we're going to go a little bit higher now. So now I'm putting in the color, and I have to be very careful because the underpainting is relatively dry at this point. I use a lot of liquid when I paint. That helps to dry the colors up a bit more and quicker. Now you're going to see I'm going to start to try to get the light, okay? Now I'm adding some more blues to the shadows. Unfortunately, there is a little glare in my picture. I apologize for that. You will see the final picture at the end. So as we can see, there's a little bit more shadow in the doorway. I'm darkening some areas. I'm trying to get some of the detail, but not a lot of the tree trunk. But you'll see that I'm trying to refine it a little bit more as I go. Everything here is not that detailed at this point. We don't want it detailed. We want to keep it nice and open. Okay, so more little lights on the trees. I'm also plotting in some darker color there as well. All over, I'm just trying to get a nice balance of everything. As you can see, we are, let's see, where are we now where are we here? Okay, yeah, so we're adding a little bit more information to the, basically to the tree shapes. We want to try to get a little bit more of that feeling of those bright leaves, the sun hitting those leaves directly. So that'll kind of give us a little feeling of dimension, some light effects there. I don't know if I mentioned this, but the panel that I'm using is 9x12. It's very small. This is actually a good plein air size that people have been using lately. I'm not saying that all plein air paintings are this size, but a lot of them in the field are very close to this proportion. It seems to work well. It's not too big, not too small, and the frames, they look good in like the gold or silver plein air frames. All right, so now we want to try to get a little bit more resolve around the turret, the support under the turret. Um, we want to get a little bit more dimension there. I probably, hindsight being 2020, probably should have painted that a little cooler, and I think I might go back in there and do that right now. Um, just adding a little bit more cool tone to that, and also giving it a little bit more, like I'm almost sharp focusing it by adding some dark accents and so forth around there. You can see that I probably exaggerated that ellipse a little bit. I wanted to get that feeling that it was turning. Um, if I was probably to fix that, I would probably just lower that ellipse. And I'm talking about the ellipse just underneath the, well, where the cone shape is. Um, Other than that, it looks okay. I'm building up some of the values in the road, adding a little bit more, it's like a purpley white color to that. You really just have to look at the colors that are there. Use your palette knife as you're mixing, and just as you're working, you're going to put the palette like knife, let's say near the shadow. If you're out in, like, let's say you're in a sunny area and you want to try to replicate that value, and you could do that on and on in the shadow shapes. You can do that in the light side. You can literally evaluate every color possible. So either doing it that way, uh, or just, by eye, and trying to get the color and value as close as what you're seeing as possible and as quick as possible. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time when we're doing these paintings. An hour is pretty much more than, again, on a sunny day, is really all we're going to have. That's why working 9 by 12 is probably a good idea. You can work smaller too. If you guys wanted to use 5 by 7 canvases, small canvases just for color notes, by all means bring them along. In fact, I'll probably mix up a couple of small ones. They're always great to have. They're excellent for like color studies. You can really get the feeling of a scene, because you're not really working large, so you can kind of focus in on all those colors. And not that you're going to have a lot more time, but because the picture's smaller, you'll be able to do a lot more in a smaller space. So there's benefits to working small. I wouldn't work anything larger than 9 by 12. 11 by 14 is pretty good. Okay, here we are. I'm changing the size and the proportion of the windows because I felt they needed it. And I'm also looking at the perspective, trying to work out that. I need to make sure that those windows are going to look like they're trailing backwards in perspective. And I hope I got that. This is where you have to kind of be very careful in your drawing, but you still want to keep it loose. So you don't want anything that's going to look like it's a mechanical architectural rendering of the thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You could do that from photographs at home, and then again use these pictures as basically color notes. It's always a good thing to do. You can add extra color to the shadows in the windows, and definitely the shadows would probably produce a little bit more color. You might have purple. You'll have blue. It looks like there's a little terracotta pot planter right there. Again, I apologize for the glare on the surface there, but you'll see the painting. I'll try to keep it there a little longer at that point. We're almost at the end. Okay, and we'll see. We have a little ways to go, not too much. I think we're down, I'm going to say 19, no, actually 3 minutes. Sorry about that. Looking at the wrong timer. All right, so yeah, we got about two minutes left to go. Um, yeah, so we're just plotting in the little windows. All we're doing is painting in the shape of the window, or at least the shadow of the window, right? We're not, you don't see anything more. If you don't see it in the photograph, or you don't see it when you're looking at something, you may see a little bit more. We'll definitely be able, when we're there painting from life, you're going to see a lot more, but you're not going to see all that much more. So this is an excellent photograph. I'm not seeing anything in the windows. I'm not seeing window treatments. I'm not seeing anything. It's very simple. It's a shape. It's abbreviated, right? Those window shapes they almost look like lollipops, right? In perspective, it's basically what they are. I mean, so you got to look at the shapes, think about what they look like, and then put them down, right? So you're responding to the shape. Here, like, I'm seeing just a little bit of detail. Believe me, I can go into crazy detail with all these things, but we wouldn't have the time. Okay, so this video is actually, the full video is 22 minutes, but this was an hour of painting. So it's definitely sped up. I didn't want to bore you with full scale, full like a full-time video. It'd be just too much. You get the idea. What's great about YouTube is that you can always, you know, rewind things, and that's it. So I think we're getting very close to the end here, guys. And just keep an eye out for all the little, now I'm just doing some little touches, but for the most part, she's done. And here is the final. Yeah, the colors are a little different. I actually photographed it outside. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there. Bye now.